She said at the party. Ugh, I wish I'd come single. I'd be having more fun. Everyone heard it. I just said, let's fix that, and walked out. Her 47 missed calls that night were the sound of a lesson she'd never forget. Respect leaves quietly, and it never comes back. The night started like any other celebration. Loud music, dim lights, and laughter that seemed to stretch all the way up to the stars above the rooftop. I wasn't much for crowded parties, but she was. And when she said, it'll mean a lot if you come, I didn't even hesitate. Her best friend, Marissa, was turning 30. The kind of milestone people treat like a mini wedding, champagne towers, a hired DJ, a photo booth, and a guest list packed with influencers, old college friends, and coworkers who secretly competed with each other's lives. I'd spent the day helping her get ready, the way I always did. Picked up her dress from the tailor, cleaned the car, made sure she had time to relax before the chaos. She looked stunning when she stepped out of the bedroom. Dark red silk hugging her figure, her hair falling perfectly over her shoulders. I remember smiling, thinking, God, I'm lucky. If I'd known what that night would become, I would have taken one last picture before we left. One last version of us before everything changed. When we arrived, the energy hit like a wave. Lights, laughter, music too loud to talk over. She fit right in. The way she moved through the crowd, the way people turned when she laughed. It was like watching someone step into a world where I didn't fully belong. That wasn't new. She'd always been more social than me. But tonight felt different. After a few drinks, she loosened up, glowing, vibrant, the center of attention. I was happy just to watch her enjoy herself. Then, halfway through the evening, he showed up. Jason, her fun ex. The guy I'd heard about too many times in the early months of our relationship. The one who didn't treat her right, but we had chemistry. I'd never met him before, but I didn't need to be introduced. The way her face changed when she saw him told me everything. She lit up. The kind of smile that makes time slow down. The kind that used to be mine. They hugged for a second too long. He looked smug, the kind of man who knows he has history on his side. When she introduced me, it was casual. Too casual. Hey, this is Mark, she said, before turning back to Jason. Not my boyfriend. Not my partner. Just Mark. He grinned. So this is the guy who finally tamed you, huh? She laughed, loudly, almost too eagerly. Tamed is a strong word. Something in me tightened, but I smiled anyway. I've never been the jealous type, but there's a difference between confidence and humiliation. They kept talking, reminiscing, laughing about old stories I wasn't part of. And every time I tried to join the conversation, she brushed it off. Oh, you wouldn't get it, she said once. Inside joke, another time. It stung. After a while, Jason leaned back, holding his drink. You know, I'm surprised you're still tied down. I figured you'd be running wild by now. It was supposed to be a joke, but she didn't hesitate. She smirked, raised her glass, and said, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, Ugh, I wish I'd come single. I'd be having more fun. And just like that, the room shifted. The music kept playing, but it felt distant, muffled, like the world had dropped out from under me. Conversations nearby died down. Even Jason looked surprised, his grin fading a little. I felt heat crawl up my neck. My chest tightened. She glanced at me for a second, maybe realizing what she'd just said, but it was too late. Everyone had heard it. Someone awkwardly laughed. Jason looked away. She tried to play it off, waving her hand. Oh, come on. I'm kidding. But it didn't sound like a joke. Not to me. Not to anyone. And in that moment, I saw it. The truth I'd been ignoring for months. The way she'd been pulling away, the way she'd rolled her eyes when I talked about my promotion, the way she said, You're lucky I put up with you. Maybe she didn't mean to say it out loud, but she meant it. So I smiled. Calm. Cold. I set my glass down on the bar counter. And I said, let's fix that. Then I turned around and walked out. I didn't shout. I didn't cause a scene. I just left. The air outside was cold, biting, almost metallic against my skin. I walked 3 blocks before calling a cab. I didn't even look back. By the time I got home, it was 1:30 a.m. My phone was already buzzing. One missed call, then another, then 5, then 20. By the end of the night, there were 47. Texts too. Where are you? It was just a joke. You're being dramatic. Answer me, Mark. I didn't. Instead, I turned off my phone, poured myself a drink, and sat on the balcony, looking out at the city. The silence was heavy, but peaceful. And for the first time in 3 years, I didn't feel like I was walking on eggshells. I didn't leave her because of one sentence. That sentence just tore open what I'd been refusing to see. That I'd been holding on to someone who didn't value being held. Someone who loved attention more than loyalty. Someone who treated us like a prop for her social life. The clock hit 3 a.m. when my phone buzzed again. A final message before she stopped calling. "You're going to regret this." I smiled to myself, whispering into the dark apartment. Maybe, but not tonight. The next morning, sunlight cut through the blinds, painting long stripes across the living room floor. The city outside was already buzzing, but inside, the apartment felt frozen, quiet in a way that was almost sacred. I woke up on the couch. I hadn't slept much, but it didn't matter. I felt strangely calm. Empty, yes, but in a clean way. Like something toxic had finally been drained out. My phone, still face down on the counter, had a red light blinking. I sighed, flipped it over. 51 missed calls. 23 messages. The latest one was from 6:47 a.m. "I'm coming over. We need to talk." I almost laughed. She didn't ask. She announced. Just like always. At 8:02, there was a knock on the door. 3 sharp hits. Confident, impatient, entitled. I let her knock for a full minute before opening. She stood there, makeup smudged, eyes tired, hair still curled from the night before but falling apart at the ends. Her red dress looked out of place in the morning light, like a costume left on after the play ended. "Mark," she said, voice shaky but still trying to sound in control. "Can we talk?" I stepped aside wordlessly. She walked in, heels clicking against the hardwood floor, like she still owned the space. The silence hung heavy. She finally turned to me. "It was a joke," she started, her tone rehearsed. "I was drunk. I wasn't thinking. I didn't mean anything by it." I just nodded once. "Okay." Her brow furrowed. "Okay, that's it. What do you want me to say?" I asked quietly. "You humiliated me in front of your ex, your friends, strangers. You said something that showed exactly how you see me, and you want me to pretend it didn't happen." I said I was sorry. She snapped, her voice rising. "You're acting like I cheated or something." I let out a breath, slow, controlled. "You didn't cheat. You just made it clear you would if it meant feeling more fun." Her jaw tightened. "You're twisting everything." I didn't respond. I just walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and leaned against the counter. "You left me there," she shouted suddenly. "You made me look like an idiot. Everyone was asking where you went. Jason had to drive me home." That last part hit like a nail scraping metal. "Jason?" I asked. She crossed her arms defensively. "He offered." What was I supposed to do? Take the bus in heels? I stared at her for a long moment. "You didn't have to go home at all. You could have just stopped acting like you were single." She rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic. I made one stupid comment, and you're turning it into the end of the world." I almost smiled. That same bitter, tired smile I'd been wearing for months. "It's not the comment, Sarah," I said quietly. "It's everything that came before it." Her confidence faltered. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I've been watching you drift away for a year now. Every party, every dinner, every argument, you're always halfway gone. I've been trying to hold something together that you already let go of." For a moment, she didn't know what to say. Then her defense kicked back in. "You're being ridiculous. We were fine." "No," I said softly. "I was fine pretending we were fine." She opened her mouth, then closed it again. The silence stretched between us. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and froze. Her face went pale. I didn't need to ask. I already knew. "Jason?" I asked. She hesitated, then locked her phone, stuffing it into her purse. "It's nothing." I just nodded. "Right." Her voice rose again, defensive now. "You're really going to do this?" "Over nothing." "You're right," I said, placing the glass down gently. "It's not about nothing. It's about respect. About realizing I was dating someone who thought she could say whatever she wanted, hurt whoever she wanted, and I'd just stay." She blinked rapidly, eyes glistening with frustration. "You don't mean this." I met her gaze, calm, steady. "I do." Then, like she was trying to flip the script, she softened her voice, stepping closer. "Mark, come on. Don't throw this away over one mistake. We've been through so much." I shook my head slowly. "You threw it away when you made me feel like a burden." She didn't reply, just stood there, her breath shallow, eyes darting, looking for the version of me that used to fold whenever she cried. But that version was gone. She finally whispered, "So that's it. That's it." She stared for a long moment, then turned and walked toward the door. But before leaving, she said, almost to herself, "You'll regret this." I didn't answer. When the door closed, I just stood there, the silence returning like an old friend. It wasn't relief, not exactly. It was something deeper, a final acceptance. Later that day, I got a text from Marissa, her best friend. "Hey, just so you know, a lot of people heard what she said last night. She's been trying to spin it like you overreacted, but everyone knows she went too far. Jason told people she texted him after you left, asking if he wanted to hang out. Thought you should know." I read it twice. Then I turned off my phone, sat down on the couch, and let the quiet fill the room again. This time, it didn't feel empty. It felt like freedom.update 1. For a week after that night, my phone stayed silent. No texts, no calls, no late-night apologies. I thought maybe she'd finally gotten it, that it was over. But I underestimated her talent for playing the victim. By the second week, people started reaching out. A coworker messaged first. "Hey man, just checking in. Heard things got rough between you and Sarah. She told people you stormed out after she joked around and embarrassed her in front of everyone." Embarrassed her. That word stuck to me like a splinter. She'd flipped the story, made it sound like I had humiliated her for making an innocent joke. And to people who only saw our filtered Instagram smiles, that version probably seemed more believable. I didn't correct anyone. Not because I was trying to be noble, but because I realized explaining myself to people who already picked a side wasn't worth the effort. Still, the narrative spread. Mutual friends started acting weird. Hesitant smiles, awkward pauses, the kind of sympathy that carries judgment hidden inside it. Then came the posts. Her stories started to look like they were curated to sting. Gym selfies with captions like, "Healing is power." Pictures at bars surrounded by guys with comments like, "Finally free to have fun again, red heart." It wasn't subtle. Then, one night, she posted a boomerang of clinking glasses. The caption said, "To honesty, growth, and cutting out negativity, nail polish light skin tone dot." Marissa texted me 5 minutes later. "She's sitting next to Jason right now." I laughed. Actually laughed out loud for the first time in weeks. It wasn't anger anymore, just disbelief. The same woman who accused me of being too boring was now parading around with a man who still lived off his parents' money. And the best part? I didn't even care. By then, I'd moved into a small apartment downtown. Nothing fancy, but peaceful. No silent treatment. No emotional games. Just space to think. I started running again. Cooking for myself. Sleeping better. My therapist once said, "Sometimes closure isn't a conversation. It's the silence that follows when you stop chasing explanations." She was right. But Sarah couldn't handle silence. When ignoring me stopped working, she changed tactics. The first text came on a Sunday night. "Hey, can we talk? I miss you." I didn't reply. 3 days later, "I just wanted to say I'm sorry for how things ended. I was stressed, and I took it out on you. I didn't mean what I said." Still nothing. Then, "You don't have to forgive me, but I really wish you'd at least talk to me. Everyone's saying you hate me." And finally, "Mark, please. I know I messed up, but I can fix it." That one I read twice before locking my phone. Because here's the thing, she didn't miss me. She missed being heard. She wasn't reaching out to reconnect. She wanted to rewrite the story before it solidified without her input. When I didn't take the bait, she moved on to mutual friends. One by one, I started getting random texts. "Hey, man, Sarah says she's been trying to apologize. You sure you don't want to just talk? She's been crying a lot, dude. Maybe give her a chance." It was predictable. Manipulation disguised as concern. I told each of them the same thing. "We're done. Please stop making me a character in her redemption arc." And that was it. After a while, even her posts changed tone. Less defiant, more nostalgic. A photo from our old vacation with a caption, "Funny how we don't realize what matters until it's gone." That one made my stomach twist for a second. Not because I wanted her back, but because I remembered that trip. I'd spent half of it trying to convince her to put her phone down and just be present. She'd rolled her eyes, said, "You're so clingy when you're relaxed." Back then, I'd laughed it off. Now, I saw it for what it was, contempt disguised as teasing. A month later, Marissa invited me to her birthday dinner. I almost didn't go. I knew Sarah would probably show up. But curiosity won. When I arrived, I saw her across the table. She looked different. Not bad, just tired. like someone who'd been sprinting for weeks but hadn't realized there was no finish line. She tried to smile. Hey, Mark. Hey. That was it. The whole dinner, she kept glancing at me, waiting for me to crack. But I didn't. When she finally tried to bring up the past, I really wish things hadn't gone that way. I just interrupted, softly but firmly. They went the way they were supposed to. And I meant it. Her expression fell, and for a moment, I saw the realization hit. Not anger, not sadness. Just understanding that she couldn't guilt, charm, or manipulate her way back into something that had stopped existing the moment she disrespected it. When I left that night, Marissa caught me outside and said quietly, "She's been different since you stopped responding. Quieter, almost lost." I shrugged. Maybe that's what growth looks like when no one's clapping. Marissa nodded slowly. You really moved on, huh? Yeah, I said, smiling faintly. Guess I finally learned how. Final update. 6 months passed. And for the first time in years, I stopped counting days. There was no dramatic transformation, no cinematic glow-up, just slow, steady change. I started running every morning again. The kind of runs where your body moves before your mind wakes up. I got promoted at work, something I hadn't even been aiming for. Apparently, focus looks good on people. I didn't post about any of it. Didn't need to. Peace doesn't beg to be seen. Some weekends, I drive out of the city, windows down, music low, coffee in the cup holder, and think about how small everything felt now that I wasn't living inside constant tension. No more second-guessing my tone. No more walking on conversational eggshells. No more apologizing for things that weren't wrong. It's strange. When you leave a relationship like that, you don't realize how much of your personality had been twisted around keeping the peace. It took months just to sound like myself again. One evening, I was at a bookstore near downtown, my quiet place. I'd just picked up a new Murakami novel when someone said my name behind me. Mark. I turned around. Sarah. Her hair was shorter, darker. She looked older, but not in a bad way. Just weathered. Like life had stopped going her way for a while. For a moment, neither of us said anything. Then she smiled, small, uncertain. Hey. Hey. You look good, she said softly. Thanks. She hesitated, then asked, Do you have time to talk? Part of me wanted to say no, but there was something in her eyes, not manipulation this time, not performance, just quiet fatigue. So we sat down at the small cafe corner in the store. She ordered tea. I got coffee. There was a long pause before she said, I saw Marissa last week. She said you've been doing well. I have, I said simply. She nodded. I'm glad. You deserve that. Another pause. Then she exhaled. I owe you an apology. A real one. I didn't respond. I just let her talk. I wasn't fair to you, she said, eyes fixed on her tea. I made you feel small so I could feel bigger. You didn't do anything wrong. I just didn't want to look at myself. That admission hit differently. Not because it changed anything, but because it was the first honest thing she'd said in years. I was so focused on being seen, she continued, that I forgot what it's like to actually see someone. I stayed quiet for a moment, then said, You were right about one thing, though. She looked up. You said at that party you wished you'd come single. Turns out you should have. She gave a half laugh, broken, sincere. Yeah, I probably should have. We talked for another 10 minutes. Not about us, not about what could have been, just about life, about work, about the weather. When we stood to leave, she looked at me, really looked at me, and said, You're different. I had to be, I said. She nodded. You're happy, aren't you? Yeah, I said quietly. I am. And that was it. No dramatic goodbye. No lingering looks. Just two people who'd finally accepted that not everything broken needs fixing. That night, driving home, I realized something that should have been obvious all along. Peace doesn't always come with closure. Sometimes, it just comes when you stop letting someone disturb it. I got home, made dinner, sat by the window, and watched the city lights blink like signals from another version of my life. My phone buzzed once. A message, not from her, but from someone new. A woman I'd met a few weeks ago at a friend's event. Someone calm, grounded, real. She'd sent. Still up for that coffee tomorrow? I typed back. Wouldn't miss it. Then I set my phone down, leaned back, and let the quiet fill the room. It wasn't the kind of silence that used to hurt. It was the kind that felt earned.